Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, chefs.
Hi, Jennifer.
Thank you for joining this virtual conversation of Fondy Farm Feast chefs. I'm joined today with Fondy Food Center board member Jarvis Williams. All of you know him because he's been a long time Farm Feast chef. We just really wanted an opportunity to check in with you all. You've done so much to support our mission over the years, and we want to ensure that our community, is aware of ways that they can support you during this time when we're really seeing multiple crises and seeing the systemic problems in our society. I know it's impacting the restaurant industry as well as many other industries. Jarvis, do you want to add to opening?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just want to say, it's good to see you all in good health. You are recovering, Caitlin, so it's good to see you as well. And I don't know, I'm not good at really on the speeches thing, but it's just good to be in front of allies in the industry and kind of, just talk back and forth. So I'm just happy to be here.
Thanks, Jarvis. Yeah, it really is good to see everybody. I sent you all the three questions that a number of our community members submitted. People are wondering, first of all, how are you personally? They want to know, how has your business changed? What's going on? And what is the best way for them to support you? So I can just call on each of you as I find you in order on my screen. And I then will start with Peter Sandroni from La Miranda.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, Peter.
So how am I doing? I guess that's a loaded question. We're doing okay. Physically, I guess it's at a weird part in my career. I was not hoping to put in more hours at this time. I was starting to consider how I was going to wean myself off these restaurants of 80 to 90 hours a week. I have been doing that plus for 13 years since we started La Miranda. And I was really looking forward to, I'm serious, I was looking forward to this summer of, hey, I think I'm going to scale back. I got a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old daughter at home, and I was hoping to be able to spend more time with them. So therein, lies issue number one, that going up dramatically. I'm back to working 90 plus hours a week. So the state of the business is there, obviously, like I suspect what everyone else's years are at, they're down. They ebb and flow. I've had some weeks where, wow, this looks like we might come out of this okay. And then there are weeks where it's like, if we have another week like this, I'm not sure I can stay open for another week. So it's really, that's been very frustrating. I feel like for the course of my career, whether it's been working for myself or working for others, I've been able to kind of write my own destiny. No matter how much I put into it, I should be able to get out of it exactly how much I put in. And I feel like this is a Sisyphusian effect here going on here, or, either that or it's the definition of insanity. I keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result, and I'm not getting anywhere. I'm working as hard as I've ever worked and not moving forward. So that's where I'm at with business. That's where, personally, like I said, I wanted to wind things down. I've got tendonitis in both shoulders, both elbows, both wrists, both hips, and both feet. There you go. I mean, we just keep going because we're all gluttons for punishment. Everyone else that's on this board that's here to participate in this conversation, they know that we do it because we love it, and we grind through whatever comes with it, whether it's emotional pain, physical pain, and economic pain. And I'll just do whatever it takes to get the job done. I've made a promise to employees, everyone that's going to stick around, I'm not the smartest person in the room, because if I was, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. But I might be one of the hardest working people you might come across. And I know I want to get to point B, and I'm at point A. I don't know how to get to point B, but I won't stop until I get there. And I made a promise to everybody that I'd do my best to get everyone across the finish line with me, and we'll do whatever I can to get there.
Mm-hmm. And Peter, how can our people help you? How can our network of Fondy Farm Feast guests, you know, many of whom have already purchased tickets for this year's event, which, you know, we don't know what that's going to look like at this time, but how can people support you and your businesses?
Well, obviously, I'm assuming everyone else in this group is doing takeout, so continue to do takeout and support local food in any way that they can. Helping any one of these restaurants is probably helping all of us, you know, at a little bit, because they're adding money to the community, which in turn then helps the restaurants put money back into the community, and that circle and that cycle keeps moving around. I could take a political stance here, but I'm not sure how, you know, that might go over with everybody. But I feel that if everyone took some responsibility about what was going on right now, whether it's the pandemic or racially or economically, I feel like a lot of people are asking, how can I participate in any one of these different things that are going on? Well, I'll say to that then, elections have consequences. I think that's another good way that people can participate.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Peter.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jennifer.
Of course. Why don't, Joe, you're next on my screen, Joe Singer from Uncle Woofie's.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. Well, thanks for having me. I guess probably like most of us, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm stressed out, and trying to find and reach for answers that a lot of us don't have in these times. It's, you know, every day is a new day, and it's trying to maintain course and figure out how the restaurant's going to keep going. How, you know, like at the beginning of the year, I had 12 people on staff. Now I have 2. You know, it's just, it's terrifying to think that, you know, we're less than 2 years in, or we're a year and a half in, and, you know, who's to say how much we have left? And it's trying to do what we can with what we have, and pivot within the space that we have, and utilize the small staff and the small space, and make the best of it. So it's trying to think in a way, and think in just reorient yourself, I guess, is the best way to put it. It's just a constant struggle, you know, and we've done some new things, you know, going to obviously just call-ins and carry-outs. We just started online ordering, which has been slow on the uptake. So that's one big help, you know, is just figure out the time to go ahead and support every one of us in every restaurant. You know, if it's one place a week or one place a day, you know, it's even the smallest orders help. If it's just a cup of coffee, or, you know, a small dish, or whatever it may be. I think whatever capacity there is that anybody has to help support us in this struggle and in these times is more than any of us can ask for. I think it's just you know, when those pennies add up at the end of the day, and that's really all we can hope for, is just to keep people coming back and see some new faces. You know, we've heard more and more that people that have been trying to get in here for the past year and a half have finally had a chance to get in here. Unfortunately, it's under these circumstances. And, you know, I would love to just see more folks and see some more new faces coming around. So that's really all I can hope for, I think, at this point, is just to keep people happy, help us, you know, and, you know, I don't know, keep moving forward.
Thanks, Joe. That was really interesting to hear about even small orders are welcome and invited, because that's actually been a reason why I haven't ordered from restaurants in the past, when I only need, you know, something that costs a few bucks.
Yeah.
So thank you. I can start ordering coffees and side salads and all sorts of things.
Yeah, every little bit helps.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Greg, you're up next on my screen.
Hi. You know, physically we're all fine. I think it's an emotional toll that we're dealing with. You know, it was very hard for us to have to let go half of the staff when this whole pandemic started. We're a very small restaurant. We're all like family. A lot of people have worked with us since we opened about 5 years ago. So that was really difficult. You know, there's no roadmap. None of us have been through this. So we don't really know what logical or next step should be. We've been very fortunate that the community and our customers have come out and supported us since we pivoted to go. We were able to keep the kitchen staff hired, all of them up actually until today, when we had to furlough Sarah, which is really tough because she's a very important part of our family here. And, you know, we try to wake up, Ori and I try to wake up every day and just be grateful to the fact that we're still open and that we're able to keep some people employed and we have something to keep us busy and we're healthy. But it's a challenge. You know, the first month, it was very hard for us to even look at the regulars who would come in to pick up their food. Because, you know, part of the reason we got into this business is not only do we like to feed people, but I'm discovering that it's the social aspect of having a full restaurant. And it's really tough to look out into the dining room and not see anybody on a regular basis. The best way people can continue to help us and support us is just by ordering. As Joe said, every little bit helps. So takeout, gift certificates, that's the best way for people to help us. So, and we appreciate it very much so.
Thank you for sharing, Greg. I'm sorry to hear about Sarah. Yeah.
It's okay. It is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Chef Reese, I'm trying to unmute you. It looks like I just keep muting you. Sorry about that.
Well, and it pops up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you
we
now.
can hear you.
All right, cool. Well, first of all, I want to say that, you know, we all acknowledge these are unprecedented times. And the past week or so has certainly brought bigger challenges to this country than COVID even. And you know, first of all, the college we are there to really provide a career sustaining jobs to the community. And, you know, we are here to support you guys. We have a very diverse student body, and the type of people who are on the streets right now, those are our students in a lot of ways. And, you know, we're dealing with something right now that goes back hundreds of years we haven't dealt with. And it's, you know, it's a challenge for the community. It's a challenge for the country. Peter, you're right on. We've got to get out and vote because that's the only way you make changes happen. So, but, you know, we are here to help you guys. We serve the community. And it's been a difficult transition throughout the college. I mean, we've shut down all 4 of our campuses. In the culinary area, you know, in all programs, we've gone online, but as you know, it's kind of hard to teach cooking and try to teach that culture of, you know, the food business, the restaurant business remotely. You can't do it. And so we're adapting. We're trying to figure out what that's going to look like in the fall. As of right now, you know, we were able to finish a lot of our students out this past spring. Some classes had to be canceled, but where we could, we went online. And because we don't know what those numbers are going to look like in the fall, we don't know what this whole pandemic is going to look like in a few months, the college has asked us to go as much as we can online. So the lecture classes are all online. That's the plan. In terms of those labs, it's a real challenge because when you're talking about thousands of students potentially being in a building and you're trying to deal with social distancing, we're not quite sure how that's going to work out yet. And it's, you know, it's a bigger plan than just culinary. You know, downtown campus, we have a half a dozen buildings and people coming in and out, and, you know, it's trying to figure out how to control that, how to control traffic patterns, and, you know, how do you practice social distancing in a kitchen? And you guys know this, I mean, you're going through it right now. How do you do that? So I do look to you guys to help with that too, and in terms of what we need to do to be teaching our students for what is happening now in the business, because that's what we're there for. We're trying to teach people what it's like in the business so that they can get out there and work for you. So that's kind of where we're at right now. It's a big question mark, but we're hoping that we can continue with the program. We've seen a lot of students drop off this spring, and we're hoping we can kind of get them back in again and keep them going, and of course bring in more students as well. So, but again, I do want to say we are here to help you guys. So you tell us, you know, feel free to get a hold of me or anybody in our, you know, in our program, and you guys know a lot of them. Let us know how we can help, because, you know, that's what we're here for.
Thanks so much, John.
Thanks, Chef.
Dane Baldwin of The Diplomat.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, as far as our approach, you know, completely different than I think some of the stories I'm hearing, you know, today. You know, for us, the timing, we're kind of in an interesting point in our existence here as The Diplomat. You know, we had just before, you know, anything was mandated, that time period just before that, we had done some really, really great things. We thought we had acquired the building that houses our restaurant space. We had just gotten a nod from the James Beard House, and so, you know, we were kind of smiles, and you know, then you can see things changing. You can actually see how impactful the pandemic was becoming, and not to use any poor words or take anything for granted, but, you know, I don't know if anyone, unless you're a medical professional or a scientist perhaps, really understood you know, how long something like this can last, and, you know, how much profound impact it could have, not only on, you know, people's physical well-being, but, from an economic standpoint, from a mental health standpoint, and all the things, the residual effects that go along with that. Our last service here was March 14th. Here we are June 3rd. We didn't see that coming. And we made a decision at the time. And, here we have always held a pretty small staff, and we always talk it out through the staff. And, everyone seemed to be comfortable with taking a position of pausing our operations. And that's a decision we made, not understanding how long that would actually be. And so, I liken it to, there's a jump rope game, double dutch. Okay. And was never good at it. I never really knew when to jump in. And that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. I know we're at the point where, people really, really want things to open up. But, I just, whether or not that were to be the case, I'm not sure how that would necessarily look for us. Some things that we're working on are, we like to extend our outdoor seating. We think that's going to be a paramount decision made to our benefit. But other than that, for the time being, we're just trying to pay attention. And, I think the most important thing is that everyone within arm's reach has been safe and healthy. As far as the best way to support us, I guess at this time, first of all, I can only thank the people who have made a phone call, have sent a letter, has purchased a gift card. I mean, those things are uplifting. And I think the best way you can support us is, it's going to be a different experience from not only an operator's perspective, but from a guest perspective. And, I think there's going to be a little bit of learning on both ends on, how a night out is to be enjoyed. So I guess I'm just asking we do it together.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much, Dane.
Thanks, Dane.
Next up on my screen, I see Karen Bell from Bavette. Hi, Karen.
Hi.
How are you?
Guys? Good. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Good. Yeah, I guess doing well, all things considered. I finally, I guess, feel like in a new norm. It's not a good or bad. I don't know. It just took a while to get here, to have this feeling like things are they're not normal by any means, but there are new normal. So yeah, I kind of can empathize a little bit with what Dane was saying. When this first happened, it was a really difficult decision to decide what to do, to transition to a carry-out only model or to close down, mostly just concern for employees, not only their health and safety, but also their how are they going to make a living? So it was a decision we struggled with, but we decided to transition to carry out. I feel very fortunate that a lot of our menu was easily translatable, as well as a lot of, we do retail, we've got the butcher shop, we've got some retail items. So that was also easily translatable. It definitely was a lot of work to make that changeover, which was not something I expected. I thought it would be a little bit easier from the outside. It might seem like it's a little bit easier, but it was a really tough decision. And I don't think anyone could imagine that it would be, carrying on for as long as it has. It's been, 3 months, and, who knows when the, end, the end is in sight. We don't really know. So yeah, it's been tough. I guess our business models changed slightly, where we're doing more like family meals, stuff that people can take home and prepare, at home stuff. Changed our hours to 7 days a week so that I had more hours to give to employees. I feel very fortunate that we've been able to keep most people on. All the and everyone's been so like flexible and understanding that, you know, at the beginning their hours did get cut for the first few weeks as I was trying to figure out what this all meant and, you know, what it was going to look like. But kitchen staff is pretty much back to where it was. It's just servers, you know, there's just not, you know, I just need one person to kind of, or two people to do the takeout aspect of it, not full service. So I do feel fortunate. I feel like we've been lucky in the transition to be able to transition. I guess more what's on my mind is what does it look like in the near future and the far off future? Like, I don't know how to keep this business sustainable and, you know, and healthy in so many ways, mentally, physically, economically, for everyone involved in it. So just trying to, I guess, be positive and take advantage of, you know, the situation that we're in, and the fact that if there are certain changes institutionally within our establishment, or even little food or service changes, like now is the time to do it, and trying to think of the best sustainable way to do that, and what that looks like. And yeah, it's a very, obviously, very weird time for everyone. So, and then, yeah, I guess the best way for people to support and help is what they've been doing. You know, it's interesting, you see kind of, or at least I've seen waves. You know, when it first happened, everyone was really kind of excited and gung-ho to support and do carry out. And, you know, and then it becomes the new normal where maybe not as much. And it has been a bit of ups and downs. I think obviously always being in Wisconsin, the weather turning is just going to be a good thing for everyone. But yeah, people have been very supportive and generous with their tipping, and kinder. So I hope that stays. I mean, I feel like people treat one another better. I mean, I guess now with everything going on, I don't know if we could say that, but I felt like for a little bit, people didn't care so much about these little things, you know, it's like that you hear about all the time in the restaurant business. So it was, that was nice to hear. And I hope people do keep things in perspective as we get out of this, or, you know, kind of move forward, that, you know, what is important, and kind of keep that perspective. So.
Thanks so much, Karen.
Thank you, Chef.
Yeah.
Caitlin, you're next up on my screen.
I think it's working. Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. The tandem has been a lot different, I think, than everybody else's thing. Just in that when this all started to happen, we've been going out of business for 3.5 years. So like I wasn't too shook to be facing another thing that was probably going to put us under. And so we just kind of threw caution to the wind, and started making free meals for people in the community based on donation, knowing that like that was probably going to be the end of the road for us. And it was a very interesting move that I think paid off in some ways. So we have been running on donations now for almost 3 months. And we've been feeding anywhere from like 500 to 1,500 people a day. Fridays are really intense. And we've been able to secure some really significant partnerships, both donation-based from foundations and then from the World Central Kitchen, which is a global foundation, to help us do this, help pay for it. So I don't know. Restaurants need help right now, and we're okay. For the first time ever, we have a budget that is sustainable. I'm able to pay my staff. And I think supporting these restaurants who are on this call, or any restaurant that you like, is a really good way to support us, because these are our friends. And if you feel weird and you want to donate to some free meals, we take all of the money that we receive in donations and contract restaurants, a couple of whom are on this call, to help us fill this need. I mean, I'm a good cook, but I can't make 1,500 meals a day. I'm not that good. So to be able to have some really awesome local restaurants take up that call and really help out while being able to put some money in their pockets right now, I think is the best way to help us. And my biggest takeaway of all of this has been, like, this is not the last crisis we're going to see like this. This is not the last time something like this is going to affect us. And we call it a new normal, but that's going to go on for some time. And so I am looking at whenever we eventually do reopen, which will be a lot further out than everybody else here, figuring out ways to make the restaurant industry sustainable for the people who devote their lives to it. And that's not just the chefs and the owners and the bigwigs, but all of our employees. Because I got to look at 18 people I laid off and know that there was no safety net for them. And there wasn't a safety net for them when they worked for us. You know, there's no health insurance in most restaurants. There's not like a living wage. There's not paid time off. And so because we've been afforded this reset because of the crisis we're facing, I fully intend on shooting the moon and finding a way to make this a sustainable living for the majority of our staff. And if it doesn't work, then I'll be facing going out of business again. But if we can't support the people that are working for us, and as chef and owners ourselves, maybe it's not a business that's meant to be. So that's my big takeaway from all this nonsense.
Thanks, Kate. I mean, I think that's a really good transition, a segue into the broader question that, you know, folks have out there, which is, you know, what do you think the future of the restaurant industry can and should look like? I mean, how do we get to sustainable businesses? I think we as a society really need to be having these conversations and finding, you know, who the voices of leadership are out there that can show us the way.
Well, and especially right now when we're facing now like a centuries old problem in the United States, Black and brown folks are the backbone of the majority of restaurants. It may not be the backbone of everyone's restaurant on this call, but we have been putting people in, and we love them, we care for them, they're family, but in substandard forms of living for a long time without any really to progress financially, professionally. I think that has to be a major consideration. Otherwise, what the hell are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I agree. I think that's well said. You know, well, even going back to the initial pandemic, well, when it was starting to come down, obviously it was coming down way quicker than anybody ever imagined. I myself was freelance in the last 4 months, and then I had to leave because I didn't want to take any hours away from anybody else. It made some, I always try to be aware of how if I can influence somebody, whether it's, cooks, dishwashers, anybody. I just try to be a good person. And so, when the pandemic happened, I felt like I was doing the right thing by leaving something on the table for everybody to have more hours to finish out the week. And also keeping in contact with people during this, because we're going to need people to talk to. Just kind of forced, and I just felt like, what else can I do? Is it more things that I can keep doing? Is there more things I can keep doing? And it just kind of drew me to, reach out to family and make a conscious decision when I walk out the door and buy anything. And also, any conversation that I have, how can I make sure that I'm doing the right thing? So getting on this call, I didn't realize how I knew it could, obviously it's going to kind of sway that way and because of the current climate that we're in. So it's just good to be around people that always meant well. You know, nobody's, you know, doing this to clean up what they've done in the past. Everybody's been doing great things. And when, you know, I think that when this gets out, you know, it's going to show that we've now got something else on our plate that's been there, quite honestly. You know, and it's a new thing that we have to tackle, and it's real. Everybody, we're just going to need support. I'm never good at finishing sentences. I usually just stop, so I'll do that.
Nailed it.
Everyone's unmuted. I just wanted to open this up so we could have a conversation.
I'll just keep going, man. How's that? So, you know, I mean, I live right across the street from Washington High School. So I have a really extremely diverse, it can go one way or the other, depending on which way you go out the door, depending on, you know, if it's a beautiful day versus a rainy day. And I love all of it. I've been here my entire life. I've been in this area my whole life, you know, barring culinary school and things of that nature. But I wanted to make sure that, you know, people know that there's good people down these side streets, on these main streets that, you know, make their commutes to work. And they want to come home and they want to be safe and they want to make friends and they want to do connections. So it's very important that we, you know, have that good intention. I think when you look people right in the eyes in this kind of situation, it's very telling. You know, I don't see much hate or demise or any of that when I look. I know it's going around. You know, in some areas, sometimes I end up being a consultant or you know, psychologist, and I'm not. But you know, speaking from experience is the only thing that I have, and so I just try to be that influential, and that's one of the reasons why you know, why we chose to live over here as opposed to anywhere else. You know, just because of the diversity. We have great, wonderful neighbors. And so, you know, I find myself relying on that more than normal, more than usual nowadays. And it's been great. This is another way of reaching out. You know, when this whole thing started, Zoom calls was definitely not my thing. You know, I always want to throw a towel over this thing. And because it's just so uncomfortable. But if this is what it's going to take to make sure that we, you know, that somebody else knows that this is what it's going to be, then I'm willing to do that. So once again, I just want to thank everybody for coming to this. So there's that.
I think what it's amazing about this industry is the compassion and the caring that, you know, you look at this group of people right here, but throughout the industry. And I think this situation has really shown a light on that. And this community is pretty unique, but it also is universal because everybody has to eat, right? So, but, you know, what I've seen from and heard from everybody I've talked to in this business, chefs like you, is they're all trying to figure out how they can take care of their people, you know, on top of trying to figure out how they're going to keep their business going. You know, this is, you guys put a lot into your businesses, and, you know, to have this in a moment slip away, you know, it's kind of scary, you know, but it's pretty amazing how people have pivoted in this. And I know some of you are doing well. And, you know, Peter, you talked about that. 1 week you're doing great and the next week you just don't know. you know, I think that's just, it's got to be a tough thing to figure out, you know. But you know, it's really, I'm really impressed with the chefs who have stepped up. I've been impressed with the community too. I mean, you know, we've done similar. We've tried to get out and patronize, you know, different places just to support. I know I see some people here I haven't been to yet. I got to get out there, so you're on my list already. You'll be hearing from me shortly. But in any event, you know, it's pretty impressive, and it's such a unique community, and you know, I just get emotional a lot of times just thinking about, you know, the selflessness that you guys go through all the time. And you know, anytime anybody like Fondy Feast calls you, you're there. You know, you want to, you know, it's a community thing. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think when you mention how much work, you know, everyone here has put into what they've done, you know, in their each own individual restaurants or careers, or you know, whatever it is. I think, you know, one thing I've really realized being at an empty restaurant, how much I haven't really, you don't think about how much you're actually working. You don't think about how much you're actually putting into it until you have an empty restaurant with all the chairs flipped and the coolers are empty, and you open it, and you know, just for a moment, you know, you have this, you forget how empty it is, and you open it and you see it, and then you realize how much work has gone into each individual item, how much teamwork it took to fill those coolers, and to keep a restaurant or a business of this nature sustained. So it was just nice to hear you say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the heart and soul of this industry is not us so much as it is the guests that fill the restaurants. And it's different. It is having an empty restaurant and putting food in boxes kind of takes the heart out of it a little bit, and definitely makes it feel more mechanical and cold. You know, and it's just like, to think of that as the future is disheartening. And you know, it's time to get creative again and figure out how to eliminate that and take away that cold mechanical, I don't want to say disadvantage of boxing food and sending it out, but how can we maintain guest relations and, you know, get those faces and see those smiling faces in the restaurant again, and hear the jovial laughter of a full dining room. You know, it's like that I miss more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, is that even in our future? Is that in our cards as of right now? You know, this is a 40-seat restaurant, and if we're going to half our capacity, that is not enough to keep us alive. You know, so it's time to get creative. And you know, it's like, I don't want to have to become less inclusive because we can't have as many people as we need in here. So it's, you know, every day Wolf and Whit and I sit down and talk about what's our next step and how are we going to maintain. And it's an odd conversation to have, to consider having to close to the public just to stay alive. But you know, that is kind of one of the cards that we are continually dealing, and that's by and large not the card I want to play. You know, I want to see this restaurant full again and do it safely, not just for our guests, but for our employees and for everybody that, you know, has a chance to come back and sit and enjoy themselves here. So that's there's some deep conversations that need to be had in as far as maintaining our ability to keep the guests happy and keep them coming back. But I don't think there aren't going to be any easy answers.
Yeah, I mean, especially because there's so many unknowns still at this point, right? None of us really know what's going to happen. I mean, we're having some similar conversations within Fondy Food Center. I mean, our farm is open, our farmers market is open, but we we're not encouraging people gathering and socializing, which is one of the top 3 benefits of coming to the farmers market. The social benefits of shopping at a farmers market are very real. We're asking people to get in and get out. I mean, I really related to what you said about the utilitarian feeling. You know, we're not planning on having special events at this time until it's clear that it's safer to have gatherings. We're not having our weekly music scheduled yet. We're not doing our community cooking demos yet. And there is, I think people feel, all of your guests, you know, everybody who enjoys coming out to restaurants, who enjoy free music in the parks, who enjoy shopping and gathering and hugging at farmers markets. I mean, Venus Williams has a sign on her stall that says, you know, something to the effect of, I will be hugging you again in the future, right? She's known for giving out hugs at the Fondy Farmers Market. And we're all missing that. There is a sense of loss that's real. It's impacting people's mental health. And it's, you know, there are some really big, sobering issues that as a society we need to confront right now. But I think that it's important that we acknowledge that those intangibles, those connections, those hugs, those looking, you know, somebody in the eye, you know, we're all experiencing that loss right now.
I think for us, what makes it even a little bit more scary is that there seems to be a lack of consensus or leadership within our city as to what are the steps for us to reopen. Like, you know, you hear in any given day 12 conflicting stories that might include 12 different sets of rules that you're going to have to do. And there's just no, you know, I understand we haven't ever had to deal with this before, so there's a lot of unknowns, but I just feel like we're not getting any guidance or even support from the political system. And it's like we're dispendable. Like, it's fine if the restaurant industry doesn't survive. And that's very hurtful. And I know that not everybody feels that way, but when you're looking for leadership from the city or the county or the state or even the country, and, you know, I'm going to say it, all you're getting is garbage. It doesn't make me feel like the future is very bright for this industry.
I think
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's a point at which we take control of our industry. So city leaders and county leaders and the fucking president are not going to be very helpful in figuring out what our next steps are. And we know our business. And if we can advocate for ourselves and insert ourselves where we need to be. For example, like, you have a bunch of patio space out front of Amelinda. You've got an alley that could be turned into open seating. You could take and put 20 more seats outside if you're only allowed to have 20 inside. That's a no-brainer. And I think everyone on this call would agree that that's something that would keep patrons safe, would keep people working, would keep restaurants in business. And it's just about us finding a strong enough voice together to say shit that we know is supposed to happen that would positively affect what we do in the business. We've never dealt with something like this before, so we're going to make mistakes. But a lot of people in all levels of power right now are making a lot of mistakes. So if we shoot our shot and we miss, then we reassess and we go back. We're not reckless people. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to take us all finding our voice and pushing for what we really need, because our local officials don't know shit about owning a restaurant. They know how to eat at one, but they don't know what it actually takes. And if we really crystallize it for them, they do know how many people we employ in this city and in this county, and how integral we are to the economy of the world we're living in.
Yeah, I do want to add here, I mean, obviously the Milwaukee Health Department is the ultimate authority in terms of what's going on here locally. They've been very responsive. They've been taking my calls. They've been taking our emails. When we had questions about creating a safe operating plan for the market to open, So I think, but what we also did is Fondy reached out to the health department on behalf of farmers markets in this city. So we have a coalition that we help facilitate called Milwaukee Farmers Market Coalition. And we reached out to them on behalf of all of these markets that are having questions about what they can and can't do, because you've got different, national, the state agencies all had different guidelines for farmers markets circulating out there. But the health department is the local authority, and they were very open to working with us. And is there a restaurant coalition that could, yeah.
Well, I want to jump in. There is. I want to jump in real quick and follow up on Greg's point, though. There is no plan. And if you call your alderman, and the alderman encourages you to call the mayor, you call the mayor, and the mayor defers you to the Department of City, health department. So then you go and talk to them. So you got lucky and got someone that was maybe responsive to you. They tell us to go look at the 5 guidelines it is to take to get open. Well, I have some answers for you. Why don't we just do what the recent studies have just come out? If 80% of the world wore a mask that was 60% effective, like this one I have around my neck, COVID would go down rather quickly. There's a lot of little things we can do, but we do not have anyone politically in this state, in this county, and in this city that has, the fortitude to take this on. You see this happening in some other states. What are they doing about what's happening economically and racially right now? I don't see a whole lot personally on any level. So back to Caitlin's point, we have to do it on our own. But we can't. We're not policy writers. We can't change the policy. Sure, we can join a coalition of restaurants and then have everyone as a singular voice try to say something. But then when you have people that run our state assembly and our Senate that are run by people who don't believe in the science, when I tell them that 80%, it's not my study, I didn't come up with this, go read the Lancet, maybe the world's foremost expert on medical journals, they're the ones that came up with that. I didn't pull it out of thin air, but they all are now, it's a mask thing, is now a political thing. Holy crap, we're never gonna get anywhere when this is a simple, that's gonna be something that people are gonna take on as to attack people with. I don't know. I throw my hands up in the air then at that point. But Greg's right. Where's the leadership?
There is a group here in Milwaukee. It's called the Milwaukee Independent Restaurant Coalition. And so we've been meeting once a week, trying to come up with guidelines, trying to come up with a unified front. So if any of you guys haven't joined it yet, that would be great. But, there was a meeting on Friday by the Wisconsin Restaurant Association that hosted it. It was a town hall, and one of our local politicians was on there, somebody who represents us in Washington, and I'm not going to mention his name. And so the idea was floated to him as, what would he think if a bill came that was just specifically to help the restaurant industry and restaurant workers? And he came out and very clearly said that not only would he vote against it, that he would actively work to defeat it. So when we're hearing these stories from our politicians, people that, you have your job because we voted you in. I mean, I didn't vote for the specific gentleman, but it's infuriating and it's disheartening and it's sad and angry and all sorts of things.
Well, I think this goes.
You look at your employees, and your employees are looking for you and looking at you for guidance and ideas and what are we going to do? And it's, like, you can't continue to say, well, let's see what happens. Let's play this by ear, because that's not going to work forever.
I think it goes back to what Caitlin was saying as far as just doing it on our own. It's like at some point you don't ask for permission. I think we got to do things within reason, but if people are going to actively work against us, I
understand. I understand doing stuff for ourselves, but okay, let's say Ori and I decide, okay, you know what, we're going to put chairs outside and we're going to put chairs in the alley next door and tables, and we're going to increase our capacity to 60. I can do that, but then the city can come in tomorrow and say, like, you can't do that, and you need to get that out of there, and you don't have permits, and I'm going to give you a citation, and now you have to pay all this money because you did this. It's right. I wish it was that easy to say, hey, let's get together and come up with a plan, but at some point, we kind of do need some permission from the city to do these
Unless
things.
we all do it.
Yeah.
True. True. So let's
There it
all
is.
go outside and put tables and chairs on the sidewalk.
Stop paying our taxes for all of us that own our buildings.
Well, there's
Right.
there's a curfew right now at 9 o'clock, and ain't a single fucking person has been obeying that curfew. Because when there's thousands of people doing something for something that makes some sense against a rule that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, the city is liable to change its mind. I'm not saying like let's rise up and set a bunch of patios, but at some point, if we all decide that that's what needs to happen, and we can send one thing to the 5 people who might have a way of changing it, and if you have a good relationship with your alderman who is now freaking out no matter who that person is, because the world around them is burning, if we say, here's a simple fix, we'll get off your back, let us try this. If it doesn't work, then we'll undo it. This is our signed promise. They don't know what the hell to do, and they need direction from people who do.
If you go to the Milwaukee County's dashboard COVID numbers, and you look at the 5 indicators, the one that is currently, is it red? Goes from red, it has to go from red to yellow, then to green. The red one is not in any of our control, but it is in the county's control. All they need to do, according to that, to make it yellow is up the amount of testing. Okay, up the amount of testing. So then you can get that one down to yellow, and then we can go to phase 2 and at least get 25% capacity. I get that that's not ideal, but getting any sales, any sales of any kind, no sales is too small. 25% at this point, I would take. But you call and you talk to the city, no one's getting back to me. They keep deferring me to the Department of City Health Department, and they keep deferring me to that dashboard. Well, that dashboard doesn't help me pay my bills.
Mm-hmm.
So then where do we get the help? You know, do we reach out to the community at large and have them weigh in?
Yes.
You know,
We ask
that's it.
staff to write the mayor.
What does that look like?
What does the letter look like? Or we just ask them to be organic. My 12-year-old daughter even wrote a letter about how it's impacted, her individually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what it needs to be. I think in my opinion, just keep it personal. We've asked all staff members. I don't know how many have done it because it's not something we force people to do. It's just, I've encouraged it. Please help out here. This is what I suggest you do. Write your alderman and write your mayor at the exact same time. You can do it in an email, do it in a letter, however you want to do it in crayon. Send it and make it personal. And how has it impacted you, and how opening up this restaurant in a safe way would it have an impact on you and the community as a whole?
Yeah, are you asking for clear guidance around opening up? Is that part of the message?
If you look at the website, again, I refer to this because I've been referred to it constantly.
Mm-hmm.
It's ambiguous. It's not consistent. We have an event space down at Engine Company, in addition to a dining room, plus dining rooms and patios at both places. So how does that apply to all? How does that apply to all of our different streams of revenue at both places? In some cases, it says you can't have more than 10 people, and in other cases, it says you have to have 25% capacity. Other cases, it says that you have, based on square footage. Come on now. Someone needs to read it, at the very least go through and grammatically fix the damn thing, let alone go through and find the consistency as a policy in it.
I will say, having been in contact with different people at the state and local, the different agencies which are tasked with setting the guidance, I have compassion for them. They're trying to figure this out. They don't know. They've never been through this before. And they're getting a lot of grievance from all the industries. I think that one industry that has not been given enough attention clearly is the restaurant industry. I mean, it sounds like we really all should be asking for clearer guidance.
And restaurants are different than other industries. We all operate, the best of us. I mean, Peter's been in this forever. He's the ballingest out of all of us. And I know his margins got to be shit. Mine are like 7%. So when you're taking an industry that is so precariously balanced to almost fail at every turn, it makes this a unique industry. This is not some factory that can continue to operate and, you know, keep up with demands in other ways or phase people in or run 24/7. Like, we don't have a big cushion to fall back on, if we have any cushion to fall back on. And so the urgency that comes with our concerns are a lot more urgent than other industries. We need to know, I mean, like, I talk to people every day. We have 40 people on our paid meal program, and I've had everyone assess on a scale from 1 to 10 how much the $1,000 a week we pay them to make meals is benefiting them. 1 being, no, we're good, just pass it on to somebody else. And 10 being, if we don't have this, we'll probably go out of business this month. And out of all of those respondents, only 30 people got back to me. 18 were at a 9 or a 10. And 26 of those were 5 or higher. It's an urgent need. It's not some long-term thing. It's not like figuring out how to bounce back. Milwaukee will lose its restaurants if we don't know what the fuck to do.
I mean, Caitlin asked us, we're one of those restaurants. Without providing meals for Caitlin, I mean, we're providing meals for Caitlin this week, and I can't even tell you if we'll be here next week.
Yeah, likewise.
Well, there's no putting a positive spin on that. I mean, it's even more urgent than I realize. And I know all you. And I've talked with many of you on this call about what's going on in your lives and your businesses. You know, I wonder, do you think that if everybody who watches this video, I mean, is the action that you want people to take to write to our leaders and say we need more support for restaurants and clear guidance for reopening? Is that the message that you guys want to get out there?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
There needs to be more of a dialogue between us and the government and the people that are setting us up to reopen. I feel like, you know, it's just can't keep being redirected to a web page or redirected to a different phone number. You know, it's just, there needs to be open lines of communication, and we need to set the course together and actually work symbiotically instead of just taking direction that really isn't going anywhere.
Well, I appreciate all of this. I appreciate all y'all and everything that you've shared. I want to be mindful of people's time because we're already at the hour mark, and I know y'all got businesses to run and families to take care of. I don't know, Jarvis, do you want to close us out? Or does anyone else have any final words they want to share?
I mean, hell, I don't know. I mean, I read the articles and I listen to you know, the restaurants, and I understand completely. I hear the misdirection. I'm like, how is anybody supposed to make a decision on what they're supposed to do when there's really nothing clear? Are you saying now that, you know, the people that did open up and have, you know, 60 people on their patio, are they doing it? Are they hurting the community? Are they going to send them home? Is everybody going to get sick? Like, you know, so you don't want people to turn on each other because they decided to go and eat on the patio. You also don't want to put, and that's this position for a customer, and it's a position for the server, the bartender, the chef, the owner. And when those people go home and they share their experience, you're putting that on another person to decide if that person is being safe or not. So all of that could be cleared up, or say, hey, we don't know. We don't know. because you have industries and you have people saying that, hey, I don't know. So why don't you say you don't know? And I feel like the more that dialogue gets opened up, I feel like the more we can come to the table together and have a resolution. I really don't know what to say. So there's that.
That's a really powerful thing to say. We don't know, and we don't know what to say. But what I did hear clearly from you all is that you need more support from the people in power. And I would like to join, in supporting you and asking for our government agencies to really bend over backwards like they need to support the industry, because it's a backbone. So thank you everyone for your time.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Really good to see your
See you all.
faces.
Yep.
I hope to see you in person someday in the not too distant future. Stay safe out there and take care of yourselves and each other.
Thank you.
Love you.
Bye.
Here, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.